So to do that, we're going to start with the big rotor. This is the big rotor. I'm going to right click on it, and I'll go to programming tags, and I'll go to Espresso. This opens up. I'm going to search for time here. Time, and this is it here. I'm going to drag it in. Secondly, I search for range mapper and I drag it in. So we're going to use this to animate the big rotor. So we come over here, we drag the big rotor into the Espresso. So we now have 3 of them. So this is what's going to happen. We have time inside here, input and output here, but on this big rotor there's nothing inside here. So we're going to add something there. And this is how it works. When you click on this side, you have a different option. When you click on this, you have a different option. So we're going to click on the blue area, and we'll go to coordinates. Now we're going to rotate the rotor. So we'll be looking for global rotation, and we're going to choose global rotation H. If you look here, we have H, P, and B. So we're going to go with H. And why are we going with H? Let me show you. If you go to coordinates, this is rotation, this is H, and this H is responsible for rotating the big rotor. Since we want to rotate the big rotor, we're going to go with rotation H. So what we simply do now is we connect the time to the input. You can see a green line. We let it go. Then we connect output to global rotation H. When you see a green line, you let it go. And what we can do now is come to our timeline and hit play. And that's it. But the speed is kind of low, so we can do something to that. We click on the range mapper, and we have these options here, the node and parameter. So I'm going to play with this output. If I change this to 10, let me make it 15. What about 20? Let's bump it up to 30 and 40. Now 40 is kind of slow, so I'm going to come back to 30 and I will leave it at that. So now that the big rotor is working, it's time for us to do the same thing to the small rotor. So I'm going to stop this. So I'm going to drag the small rotor from here to this place. Then I want to repeat time and range mapper, so I can select both of them, control click and drag, and let go, and I have a duplicate. So here now, rotor, we're going to add rotation on the Z axis. So I click here, go to coordinate, global rotation, then global rotation B. So I connect this to this and I hit play. So you can see I have both of them rotating. So we are done with the espresso. You can close it now. So I have both the small and the big rotor in order. So you can see that it's static, doesn't move. To make this model move, I have to go back to the model. Then I'm going to right click. Under animation tags, I have to click on vibrate. And still nothing happens. So when I click on the vibrate, I have some options here to work with. So let's see what we can do here. So let's come to enable position. Enable that. And you can see what's happening. And that is because the frequency is 2. So I'm going to reduce this frequency to 0.01. So you can see it's stable. And also I would like to extend the frame from 90 to 1000. So you can see that the model is floating. So let's come here and play with this. The model is only moving front and back. Let's increase this to 50. So what do you notice? The model can go up and come down. Can you see that? So we've added the Y coordinates. So before, it was on the X coordinate. Let me show you what I mean. If I return this to 0, the model could go front and back on the X axis. Look at the X axis. If I turn the X axis to 0, the model cannot move again. And if I activate the Y axis, if I make it 100, then the model can go up and come down. So if I activate the Z, the model can go in 3 dimensions. So let's take this to 200. Then take this one to 50. So now the model can move in 3 dimensions. And that's not all. I want to activate the regular pause. Look at what the pause is doing. If I remove that, now you may not want to play with this. If you touch this, it's going to deform your model. So you can try that and see the result, but you're warned it cannot be undone. So finally, we've been able to move the model using physics. It's floating. Then the next thing we're going to do is to insert a stage. So to do that, I go to File, Merge. I say OK. And you can see this is huge. So I might want to scale this down. I'm going to call it base. So I need to scale this down. So I click on scale and so I'm going to take it down. So I move it down. Then my model, I'm gonna move it up. The model is still tiny, so I'm gonna scale this one more time. Scale the base. So next, I'm going to add a floor. So I come to this floor. So let's add something to make it colorful. Add a material. Double click on it. Then go to texture. Load image. Let me use this grass base color. Say yes, and I close this. So I simply drag this to the floor. So this is how big the floor is. So I can have more than one base scattered around here. So what I'm going to do now is to duplicate the base. I'm going to move this one to this side or one end. Then I'm going to make a duplicate. I will click and hold, control, then let go. So I'm going to move this one to this side. So let's go back to the viewport. So I can see one base here. The easiest way to jump to any of the base is to click on it, then Alt X. This is the first base. Then for the second one, I click on it, Alt X, and here is the second one. So we're going to be animating this model to fly from one base to the other. So now it's time to move the helicopter from the center to this base. So I click on that, then move. I go to top view. I click on the first base, Alt S, Now I don't like the proportion of this base to the model, so I'm going to see if I can increase the scale for the helicopter. So I click on that, scale, all right, so that is good. I have to take it up.